Hello, welcome to the episode of Talk on Religion and Culture. Today we will be examining the relationship between culture and religion in the context of Bangladesh. And here I will be presenting. I am Bohubrihi Harun, the faculty of GED, General Education Department at the University of Liberal Arts. By training, I'm an anthropologist. I studied in different universities in different times of my life. And at this moment, I have been working on Islam and Muslim youths in Bangladesh. That's a special project from Germany. So let's get into the topic. Today we'll be discussing on few issues: definitions of religion, definitions of culture, functions of religion, elements of culture, and how religion and culture creates impact in society. And we will be taking examples from Bangladesh. And also we will be focusing on how there are conflicts are being seen in the issues of religion and culture, and religion and cultural issues in the globalization and the problems of traditions that we'll be exploring. So let's get into the topic of religion. Religion is a huge issue that has been discussed in many disciplines. Possibly this is the most discussed issue in any social context. So even if you're not religious, you can see the traces of religion in the society where you belong. To a great extent, religion shapes culture and is also shaped by culture. So you can say that, okay, then what are the roles of economics, politics? So what the point is that it's not religion is only doing that thing, neither culture is doing that thing. All these things are contributing together to shape up and structure human experience and human lives. So the whole episode of today will be examining the relationship between religion and culture. So let's get into this. If you look at the definition of religion, the word religion comes from the Latin root, which is religare. You understand that means again, and ligare means to bind, to combine together. Definitely, there are some other definitions or some other terms from religion. For example, in the South Asia, we use the term dharma. That is not entirely the similar in terms of meanings of religion in the Western context. So that has a different meaning, but we're not getting into this. So there are different meanings and manifestations of religion in different contexts. So let's see some of the definitions. Possibly the most popular definition is given by Clifford Geertz. A religion is a symbol, a system of symbols which acts to establish powerful, pervasive, and long-lasting moods in man by formulating conceptions of a general order of existence and clothing this conception with such an aura of factuality that the moods and motivations seem uniquely realistic. This is mostly a symbolic perspective of defining religion, where religion is considered to be a set of acts and ideas related to symbolic expressions. On the other hand, another functional definition is given by Emil Durkheim, the father of sociology. He says that religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices relative to sacred things, that is, things set apart and forbidden, beliefs and practices which unite in one single moral community called a church, all those who adhere to them. The problem with this definition is that these are mostly based on Western context. In many different cultures, there is no central authority like church, but still there are religions. So we are not getting into this because there are very different contexts. We'll be focusing on very simple ideas. What is that? The functions of religion. So we take the common idea that is given by Tyler. Religion is a belief in spiritual being or supernatural being. So what are the functions of religion? First of all, religion gives explanation to human existence, where we have come from, where we will go, where we are here. Having you taken it or not, there are explanations from religion. And these explanations are given credibility and validation by the society. People take those as the validation of their life and of their experience. Why things are like this? Why things are going to this direction? These things are being explained by religion. I'm not saying that this is solely done by religion, but religion, of course, is a powerful source of explaining human life and human existence. Second, controlling human behavior and human life. What to do, what not to do, how to interact with other people. The norms and sets of behavior are actually set by religion. And of course, there are laws. And if you look thoroughly, many sources of law come from religion as well. So one of the major tasks of religion is to control human behavior. That starts from regulatory behavior for diet to sexual intercourse to marriage to politics to state, everything. And third is the legitimacy. Religion gives legitimacy to the given established forms of behavior and forms of action in a society, that why these things are like this, why these things are like that. Possibly the most important aspect of religion is to form community formation. Often we use a term that, oh, religion is individual. In Bangla, we say the term dharma jar jar, utshab shabar, or whatever. Religion is never individual. Individual can improvise, individual can extract certain aspects of religion, but religion is always try to form community who belong to the same belief and same practice. Even if you don't belong, if you are not such a good practitioner or sincere one, you belong to a certain community, this way or other. Inside and outside of religion, forming one group or fragmenting from another group, you are always within the community formation. So one of the major tasks of religion is community formation. And if you look at the religious activities, those activities are highly revered in religion, which are combinedly performed, collectively performed. For example, Hajj for the Muslims. For example, going to church by the Christians. So when people perform activities collectively, those are highly revered. So community and society are very important aspects of religion. And finally, there are many other aspects like setting ideals and morals, good or bad, the do's and don'ts. These things are, of course, you understand that these are also parts of the religion. So, in summary, we can say that any singular definition you take is always inadequate, awfully inadequate to define or to analyze or to accommodate the diverse experience humans beings have in terms of religiosity. So we are not getting into those, but we'll look at the experience and the diversities we have from religious perspective. So now let's have a look at the definition of culture. This is also notoriously difficult to define culture. Like there is a definition of culture given by Clifford Geertz once again. That is the task of anthropologists actually. They study culture a lot. So I'm citing some of the anthropologists who are very famous. Clifford Geertz is one of them. He says this is the total way of life, the social legacy the individual acquires from his group, a way of thinking, feeling, believing, an abstraction from behavior, a theory on the part of the anthropologist about the way in which a group of people in fact behave. So and so, this is a long definition. Possibly the most popular definition is given by Edward Barnett Tyler, leading anthropologist, that culture is that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, law, morals, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. Surely there are many debates, but we're not getting into this. Rather, we could look at the features of culture. What are the major features of culture? Number one, culture is learned. You have to learn culture. Doesn't matter where you are. You learn your behavior, etiquettes, beliefs over a long period of time from the surroundings where you grew up, where you are raised, which is called the enculturation process. How to behave, how to interact with other people. These things you learn, and therefore culture is learned. Like even you learn religion from your surroundings. For example, Muslims believe that there is one God. This is somehow taught to you either by your parents or by your teacher or by your surroundings or by your neighbors. Somehow you learned it. and what the perspectives and performances should be uh, ideal for a Muslim, you also learn that. So religion is and culture is always learned, not religion. Culture is learned. I will get back to religion later. Second aspect of culture is culture must be shared. Culture is not a singular thing. One individual person is a product of culture. We share everything in culture, like the food behavior, like our beliefs. You can say that no, I'm exceptional. I have my distinctive choice. Yes, but that choice also came from the society or the culture where you grew up. So culture is also shared. Culture is symbolic. There are many symbolic expressions. Symbolic means anything, like that could be an object, that could be a language, gesture, posture, everything that is somehow entangled with particular meaning. For example, this is a sign of victory, but this is only the sign or symbol when the other person understands that. Otherwise, these are only two fingers. So this creates some meaning which is shared and which is symbolic. And fourth aspect of culture is integrated. That means that you cannot compartmentalize, oh, this is family, this is religion, this is politics. Think about our family rules and norms. That comes from religion, that comes from society. That is also somehow connected to the greater political situation. So, whatever we experience in our life, religion, family, politics, economics, all these things are somehow connected together and they're creating a complex whole, as Tyler said. So things are integrated. And fifth aspect of religion is, culture is that culture is very adaptive. What is adaptive? That things are changing constantly because of technology, because of economy and its forces, environment, and many other things. And also culture is changes. Often we refer that, oh no, our culture is not changing, or we are looking for, Shashwato Bengali culture. But Shashwato Bengali culture is also changing. Culture is always changing because it is adaptive. It wants to accommodate its inhabitants within it. Therefore, culture is also changing. Maybe it's not changing the way we want it to, or maybe it's not having the desired pace, but it is changing because it is adaptive. Technological changes are being adapted within the culture through different improvisations in different cultures, but it is changing. So culture is very, very adaptive. And finally, culture is performed. Why is it performed? Because if you look at ourselves, all the time we are performing. Perhaps Shakespeare said, you know the quote by Shakespeare that this is a great stage. The whole life is a great stage. Whole world is a great stage. Why is that? All the time we are performing our specific roles. When I'm a teacher, I am performing a certain role. When I'm a mother, I am performing a certain role. So every time we are performing. What we are performing? We are performing society, and we are performing the social roles given upon us, and we are performing the cultural rituals. So this is how we are creating and recreating culture again and again. So now we have come to some fundamental aspects of culture. So where religion and culture combine. Let's look at some aspects of religion and where we will explore the relationship between religion and culture. First of all, we need to understand that religion and culture cannot be separated in many societies. The way we separate religion and culture, that is much more a relatively modern phenomena that started since from Renaissance and Enlightenment period. Before that, it was not that common, and even now in many societies that cannot be compartmentalized. Oh, this is religion, this is culture. For example, in among the Garo community of Bangladesh or any other indigenous community, they have their harvest festival, Wangala. That is also religious, that is also cultural. You cannot differentiate. That is also performed with religious offerings. At the same time, that is also performed with enormous, colorful festivities. So you cannot differentiate that this is cultural and this is religious. There are different aspects, but these are combined and integrated together. So now let's have a look at the elements of religion. In each culture or each religion, there are some forms of supernatural entities. That could be God, that could be deity, that could be, angels, or everything, or pantheons of God, but there are some forms of supernatural entities. Except one religion that is often referred to as a non-supernatural idea, but that is Buddhism. But also in Buddhism, there are some forms of supernatural. It's not creator God, but there are some forms of supernatural. Okay, and there are sacred symbols. Which things are sacred? Holy. There are some ideas of sacred and holy in religion. That could be some, particular object, like, Kaaba Sharif for the Muslims, temple for the Hindus, or could be the verses of Quran, or could be particular behavior, like when you do ablution, like cleansing. For example, Muslims, when they do wudu, they feel that they are more cleaner. Please be assured that this is a feeling, because symbolic, it's not related to hygiene. It's much more related to purity and pollution. So there are many sacred symbols. And there are also myths in religion. The stories of creation, the narration of creation, and how the world started, how human lives started, how it will be destroyed. These things are almost given in all religions. Why are these there? Because those explains human existence and also said behavior. So this is how you were created, this is how you will be leading towards death, and this is your life after death or whatever. So you have to act according to this norm. So these myths are important to give directions to human actions. And also there are rituals. Rituals are those specific activities which are related to religion or religious meanings. That could be your dietary restriction, like the Hindus do not take beef, Muslims do not take pork. That could be sexual relation, like Muslims can marry their cousins but Hindus cannot. Or this could be, entire performance, bigger performances like Hajj. Everything that is manifested with religious connotation is really ritual. And there are also cults. There are different meanings of cults. Often we have negative meanings that, oh, those bad, abusive megalomaniacs, they are the cult people. But in general, cult means the veneration or respect for a person or for a particular object. Like Sufis, awliyas, sadhus, they are cult figures. And as I say, there are religious practitioners. Different practitioners could be Maulana, could be priest, could be imam, could be father, could be bhikkhu or monk, and who are regular and who could be non-regular, like temporal. And there are important issues like community bonding, as I said. So we will get back to this later. The point is that if you look at all these things are also essential parts of the culture too. Like when we talk about our symbols, those symbols which are sacred, there's a specific term from anthropology which is called totem, like which is the sacred animal or sacred object for that country. So now for that community. Now if you look at Bangladesh, what is our totem? Our totem is our flag. So you can be frustrated, you can be, totally disappointed with the country. You are always criticizing, but you cannot humiliate the flag because this is some kind of sacred thing. Similarly, religion has also some similar things. You can always criticize religion, you can criticize religious things. Oh, I don't like this about Islam, I don't like this about Hinduism, but you cannot humiliate Quran or you cannot humiliate any other object which is sacred. So the symbolic things are there which are almost totemic for that community. Of course, there are different meanings of totem. I'm just citing example that these set an symbol for that particular community. For the Muslims, this is a symbol. For the Hindus, this is a symbol. Similarly, this is a symbol. Non-regular, non-religious aspect, like as I said, that tiger or the flag is the symbol for Bangladesh. So and often people say that, often scholars argue that the non-religious symbols, which are now modern day nationalist symbols or secular symbols, those mostly came from religious totems. So many of the things we will look at came from religion. Um, for example, let's see the functions of religion, as I said, explanation. So, how life has started, where we will go. These things are mostly offered by religion, and people mostly adhere to religion. You do not go to physics, you do not go to biology or evolution to seek answer. There are explanations in those disciplines, but people do not go to those places to seek answers. Rather, they seek easy answers where God has created us, God will take us. And that forms a worldview of the people, how to look at the society, how to look at life, and how to work, how to act. At the same time, if you look at the control, as I said earlier, like controlling human beings and their behaviors also comes from religion. Some that can range from individual aspect to a greater extent to the social or national aspect. Many laws of Bangladesh uh, are uh, are coming from religious context. There are separate Muslim laws and there are separate Hindu laws. Those laws include marriage system. Those laws incorporate the idea of property distribution, most importantly. So the laws, norms, and customs came from religion, mostly. In many countries, which are also claiming that we are secular, but the sources of law mainly came from religion. Third aspect, as I said earlier, that religion wants to legitimize marriage, which marriage or which child will be socially accepted is given by the approval is given by religion. And community formation, as we said, that the many aspects of our human life and human experience, human community formation, and community behavior is guided by religious norms. Look at the major festivities of Bangladesh: Eid, Puja, even worldwide, the Christmas. So, where people gather together, they perform together, they act together with the family. And not only this, the huge economic transaction takes place through market are mainly surrounded with religious festivals, not with other festivals. So, not to get into these details, but you can understand easily that everything we do are somehow connected with religion, even if you don't like it. You can be an atheist or you can be an agnostic, but you join your family during Eid festival. You join your friends during puja. So these are somehow, you exist within a atmosphere where religion constantly operates. Doesn't matter you take it or not, it is operative. Okay. And what is another more important aspect is that many the artworks that could include material objects like wall hanging of Ayatul Kursi or Om mantra, or Jesus Christ's picture, to statues of gods and deities, to many other things like architecture, some greatest architectures. For example, in our country, like Kantaji Temple or Tara Masjid, even the Baitul Mukarram Mosque, even Paharpur. These were all great artworks as well as architectural works, and these are also motivated, either inspired or motivated or dedicated to gods or to religious purpose. So, and also there are very different forms of music in our country. All over the world, it is often said that music comes from religious chantings and prayers. Even in our country, if you looked at Hamd, Naat, Qawwali among the Muslims, Baul, Kirtan, Bhajan, all these forms of songs actually coming from religiosity, religious purposes. Now they have aesthetic values. Even the floor decoration, alpona, that is now a nationalist symbol for our Pahla Boishak or New Year festival celebration, but that comes from religiosity. That came from the Santals and Hindus who decorate their floors and walls during their puja. So, so there is very integrated, intertwined relationship between religion and culture. We all understand that. In the modern world, now there are some questions about religiosity and conflicts with modernity. What are these? Often it is said that religion is anti-modern, religion is anti-secular, and religion is orthodox and backward. But if we look at that, the idea of modernity is also a particular idea that came up with the Renaissance and Enlightenment period. Often many scholars like Talalasa, they argue that the idea of secularity is actually the idea of particular form of Christianity that developed in Europe in the 16th century onwards. So this is nothing, universal. And if you look at the performances of modernity, the components of modernity, you could see the religions are significantly using modern technologies and modern, tools and techniques. Like nowadays, all of you could be aware of the fact that there are hundreds and thousands of wars and religious preachings from different religions available on social media, social devices. These are available preachings or verses of Quran or verses from or religious performances are being available. And some scholars also argue that the hype of religiosity that we observe nowadays actually the outcomes of this hype of technologically abuse or technological use. So, well, now you can argue no, they are not looking for family planning. Religious people are not in favor of family planning, or they don't like the changing gender roles. Perhaps this is partly true, that cannot be denied, but also at the same time, this could not be a sweeping generalization. Rather, we would argue that there are many forms of improvisation. Like we could see now in more university girls, so that is a kind of, breaking the normative gender roles, but they're also wearing hijab. So there is a kind of blending of religion and the modernities together. Anti-secular, as I say, that secularity is not also a uniform phenomenon or unilineal phenomenon. There are many forms of secularities in different contexts. So without getting into this, we could say that this is a very controversial issue. But in Bangladesh, the idea of secularity has never excluded religion. It rather opened up in constitution and also in politics. It rather opened up spaces for individual religious practices. That is, there are spaces for all religions to have their own practices. It's not that like some countries they do not allow even religious practices in public sphere. This is not the case in Bangladesh. Secularity has particular meaning in Bangladesh like many other countries. So what is coming up? As Huntington argued that religion is a cultural entity, or civilization is a cultural entity which is fundamentally defined by religion. So he predicted that there is a clash of civilization coming up because different civilizations are shaped up by religion. Well, and that has been validated by many by saying that okay, now there are most of the clashes in the civilization we see are somehow the clashes of Islam and Christianity, or Islam and Judaism, or Christianity and Judaism, so and so. Perhaps these comments actually somehow hide the many other complex situations, because there are also, we see the fights between Muslims and Muslims, Christians and Christians. So there are many more complex political economic issues that are being hidden under the religious cover, or they don't want to see, they don't want to look at those disparities and discriminations and conflicts. So rather we should look at the possibilities of religiosity and culture in solving conflict resolution. For example, if we look at the current religious networks, now religious networks go beyond the boundaries of nationalities and states. There are much more transnational networks of religions, and they are addressing more and more cultural groups, more and more cultural communities. At the same time, there are different cultural aspects which are also operating beyond the boundaries. So Possibly, this could be used more effectively in conflict resolution in different ways. Of course, there are connections between religiosity, transnational networks, and terrorism and militancy. But if you look at if you compare the number of people involved and number of activities, or the magnitude of activities, the terrorist and militant activities are actually really, really minor. Other activities are much more vast and more accommodative and more encompassing. So the World Public Forum, established in 2002, or the Faith for Development in many different countries, many different universities, has been established to work effectively for conflict resolution, because religion is the part of culture. There is no way of denying it, or both are intertwined and working together. Secondly, the religious actors have more influence on people to motivate than anyone else, motivate people and society than anyone else. So that could be used more effectively, and they're working more effectively throughout. For example, during the crisis, any social or political crisis, you see people become volunteer, or they voluntarily donate or work together, mostly driven by religious reasons. They support other people, other community, because they think that this is a task for humanity. So this is how we can work together, we can combine together, as it always happened in Bangladesh in different crisis period. For example, from 1971 to different natural disasters, people always work together. Doesn't matter what religions they come from and what cultures they come from, they combine and work together. So that will be a very possible and potential aspect for Bangladesh. Thank you.